blocking my Prez cup here.
Yeah. All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast.
Man, this is a birdie fest.
It's a Philly show, baby.
Philly
Let's go.
Of course, the voice of the great Michael Collins at the end there giving us a let's go. But welcome to Swing It and Ding It. We are sponsored by Comcast Business, introducing ultimate speed for business, the fastest internet plans yet from Comcast Business, powering possibilities, and of course, DraftKings Sportsbook. We will see the line for the President's Cup. Very interesting numbers in there, but
Big line.
we are very excited to go up north to a very special guest that we have on, of course, John Wood, NBC on-course reporter, and also team manager for the Ryder Cup. No big deal.
Right.
We'll get into all that, but welcome to Swing It and Ding It, John.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We know you're in the hotel. We're seeing you're doing a little guitar practice probably when you get back. And
Yep, my people next door to me probably don't like when they see me check in, but I try to be as quiet as I can.
I love it.
John, you're probably more welcome than me right now because I have a almost 3-month-old. So when they see me check in, they're like, no.
Yeah.
We'll take the guitar.
So, John, let's start with the President's Cup. We know how much you love these team events, right? You have a long history of them going back to, I believe, 2002. Ryder Cup was the first team event.
That's right.
With
Yeah,
Mark.
Calcavecchia.
Yeah. And, I've listened to several of your interviews and clips, and it just pours through how much these things mean to you. Yeah. And, I'm hoping you can kind of tell our audience, like, why, right? Like, we know some of the reasons, but like for you, especially now, with the new naming of the team manager for the Ryder Cup, it probably has a bigger and a different meaning to you. But what is it about these things that just get the people going and get you fired up?
Yeah, before I got into golf, I was a team sport guy. I played basketball and football and baseball. And, those team atmospheres, you just don't get the opportunity to do that in this sport pretty much at this level. Once a year, if you're lucky and you make these teams. Once I made my first Ryder Cup team with Mark Calcavecchia, as you said, in 2002. Once you're in one of those team rooms, you just don't want to miss another one because the weeks are so special. Week in, week, it's basically you and your player. And you've got your buddies you might have dinner with, play practice rounds with, but it's a two-man team for the most part. When you get these weeks, you get 12 players and 12 caddies and the assistants all pulling on the same rope. And it's just fun having that common goal and getting to know guys in a deeper way than you do week in, week out on tour, not only personally, but watching how they go about their job. I can't tell you how many things I've learned in these team rooms watching, being able to up close and watch Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson and these guys prepare for events and their caddies. You pick up things that maybe you didn't see before, you didn't know about before. So there's so many reasons, but those are the two main ones, I think.
Well, Woody, how does the caddy's role change, or does it change when you're talking about a team competition?
That's a great question, and it does change. You work more as a team. Usually you're out walking a course by yourself, maybe with one other guy, trying to figure it out for your player. Like yesterday afternoon, for example, I saw 7 of the American caddies together out walking the back 9. You just don't see that, sharing ideas. And picking up things that maybe you didn't see and somebody else sees, or you picked up and somebody else didn't pick up on. The other thing is especially key for match play and the alternate shot portion. You've got to figure out some stuff for your partner. What does he like? If you normally see a hole and you go, I'm hitting driver here because I like that little short wedge, I'm going to have in. Well, if he doesn't like that short wedge, then you need to alter your strategy and talk to his caddy and say, what does he like? What does he want? So that stuff you've got to figure out, especially if you're alternate shot partners. In addition to that, you've got to it depends on what kind of brand golf ball he uses, but if he uses a different golf ball, you got to figure that out for your player, because you might not think it's a big deal at this level, but 5 yards on a pitching wedge or one that flies a little higher, spins a little bit more, that's 20 feet all of a sudden. So to figure that out on the go, you've got to know all that stuff. So you take a few of your your potential partner's balls out with you. Hit some shots with him, especially around the greens, especially with wedges, trying to figure out exactly the difference between his ball and your ball, just so you know when you're ready and the flag goes up for competition.
There are always such fun little tidbits there, like the golf ball. We talk about that all the time, like with match play when they were playing. But people don't think about that, like you said, the spin rate and how you're hitting it. But aside from key matches, let's talk about the course. I heard you on Golf Channel talking about how thick the rough was and how this course, maybe out of all President's Cups, sets up most European-like.
I thought so. Usually, a lot of times these events, are set up by the PGA Tour. So they're pretty neutral setups in general. They don't favor one team or the other. Ryder Cup's just the opposite. When you come to America, we tend to have it, very low rough, pretty big fairways, very fast greens. We go to Europe, they slow down the greens, they grow the rough, which kind of, favors their team a little bit. This year's the first year it feels like they've tried to mitigate some of that. American strength is always driving distance, driving a long ways, hitting wedges. I don't think you're going to be able to just bomb and gouge it this week because the rough is so thick. Especially we're supposed to get a lot of rain today and tomorrow. Luckily, so far it's held off and we haven't had any. But yeah, it's very, very thick rough. Probably the thickest I've ever seen for a President's Cup. So it's one you're going to have to really think about, and you can't just bomb it up there and play from the rough. You're not going to be able to do that this week. You got to find fairways.
Interesting. So I don't know if we've ever had a story quite like the one we have with Keegan Bradley, right?
Amazing.
The heartbreak of not making the Ryder Cup. He gets named Ryder Cup captain, which seems to catch everyone, including himself, off guard. Then he says, "I want to play." Right?
Yep.
He gets the assistant captain role. Then he gets into the President's Cup. He not loses it, but they said, "Hey, you need to concentrate on playing." Jim Furyk says, but he still has, his eye is obviously going to be on how this thing all really works from that side, from that perspective. Have you had a chance to really spend some time with him? Obviously you will leading into the Ryder Cup, but where is his head at in this?
Yeah, we've talked a lot ever since he got named. Obviously we've been in communication about a lot of things. But one of the things we talked about was when he got named, I think he was 14th on the President's Cup when he got named on the list. And we talked about during the events, during tournaments, I kind of said, you play, I can do whatever you need me to do. If you have things you want me to take care of as team manager, I'm on it. I can talk to anybody. I can communicate. You play golf. And once he got past that first playoff event, because he was right on the edge of making it to the BMW, finished right on the number 50th, got in. And I really felt like once he got there, a lot comes with getting to that tournament. You get in all the signature events the following year. That took a load off his shoulders. And it really feel like it freed him up. And obviously it did. He goes on to win BMW, make the President's Cup team. And I think it's huge for a few reasons. He was going to be in that room anyways as a vice captain, if you're not a player, to kind of see the inner workings and get back into a team room. But I think this is going to be huge for his captaincy next year because the guys are going to see he's a player still. He knows how this feels in here. So, when we get to the Ryder Cup next year, even if Keegan's not playing, if he doesn't make the team as a player, I think there's going to be a huge respect for him. Not that it wasn't for other captains, but he's so close to these guys in that he's still a player, and they're going to know, hey, he was right in these President's Cup inside the ropes playing last year. He knows exactly what this feels like, and he's not going to put us in a situation to fail. And, I've been so impressed with Keegan. I've known Keegan for a long time, but never to this degree. And he is, every time we have a little Ryder Cup meeting, it's like he's been thinking about this for his whole life. He's just decisive. He's got answers. He knows what he wants. He knows how he wants to shape the team. And it's just been so impressive. So he's so excited for this week. I talked to him a little bit yesterday on the range, and he was ready to go yesterday. He's ready to run through a brick wall right away. And there's a great story about Keegan. His first Ryder Cup in 2012, he's so intense and such a competitor. He was hitting the first tee shot playing with Phil Mickelson, alternate shot, and they announced him. And, first tee at a Ryder Cup's like nothing else. Crowd goes crazy, and Keegan tees it up and bombs one 340 right down the middle. And he's walking off the tee, and he turns to Bones, Phil's caddy, and goes, "What happened?" I don't remember. I didn't see it. I don't know what happened. You hit 340 right down the middle. You're good. He goes, "Okay, I kind of blacked out there."
Wow. Well, Woody, when you're talking about Royal Montreal and describing the course, it sounds like a perfect venue for two of those Canadians, Corey Connors and Mackenzie Hughes, because they play that kind of point-to-point kind of golf style. They don't try to overpower a golf course. Who else on these two teams might this place be tailor-made for?
I think I've got Colin Morikawa. I think Russell Henley is going to play well. He just has that kind of game. There's not a golf course in the world that doesn't set up for Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele right now. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. Those guys are playing such good golf and have all year. I think the key for the internationals, I said this yesterday, is going to be hanging around and getting the Canadian players to get a couple points early and get the crowd into it. Because on paper, you look at it, and of course, the American team is favored, heavily favored with the world rankings. But, you guys know sports. In any sport, if an underdog can hang around and just stay close, through the first two sessions, that pressure starts to kind of switch a little bit. And all of a sudden, the Americans look at the board and think, boy, we should be winning this handily. And it's still very close. And I think if they can do that, Corey Connors and Pendrith can get a point on the board early, a couple points, get the crowd into it, and get the crowd partisan. That is huge because a lot of times in these things, you go on the road for the USA, and there's still a lot of USA fans.
Yeah.
But if they can switch that and make the crowd very partisan, which I hope they are. I mean, these team events, I like those partisan crowds either way, whether they're for you or against you. It's just part of it. So I'm kind of hoping the crowd is very partisan, and the USA's got to, buck up and play some golf.
Let's talk about the captains, right? Jim Furyk, kind of an out-of-pocket response that we saw a couple days coming out, responding to the journalist Adam on asking, are you maybe rooting, for the international team just to kind of shake things up a little bit? And Furyk took extreme offense to it and saying, you got to you're an American, you got to understand, I actually do take offense to that. Use some keywords, maybe some explicits. Talk about the passion, what we're seeing from him, and, kind of how he's feeling.
Yeah. I think knowing those two guys, I think it was probably a little bit of a misunderstanding. I think it was probably a little bit in a relaxed situation, not necessarily, a press conference. I think Jim was probably joking with him a little bit, and it just comes out in print differently. But I think Adam has a good point in that this event needs a close match. It just does. I mean, we've had some close ones. Korea was very close. Melbourne was very close. I think for this tournament, the health of the tournament, I think it'd be great for the internationals to play well. Obviously being American, I'm rooting for the Americans, not openly because I'm media now, but I'm from my position now, I want a close match. I would love for it to come down to those last few matches on singles on Sunday, just because that just adds so much to the event and the health of the event. So I see Adam's point. Could have been asked a little differently maybe, and Jim could have responded, but I think it was a little bit of a misunderstanding, to be honest with you.
The media can definitely twist some things around, but when
Can't
the
we?
headline comes out, Furyk said to go yourself. It's like, what? Jim Furyk said this?
We just got to stir things up, don't we?
I
We
love
like
it.
to stir the pot for sure.
Well, let's stay with that final pairing on Sunday, because you've been there, I believe, maybe twice on the road, once for a win, once for a loss even.
Yeah.
And in the last Ryder Cup, the caddies were just as big of a story as the players. Wondering if there's going to be any standout caddy antics this year, or involvement.
You never know. In general, caddies kind of like to be like umpires. If we get noticed, it's probably for something bad. So it's nobody plans to be. But I don't think caddies this day and age play such a bigger role than maybe they did 20 years ago. That I think a lot of caddies aren't afraid of that to get involved and maybe step in where before they may not have. So hopefully not. Hopefully, if they do, it's for a great read or a good club or some good advice down the stretch, and nothing controversial. But like we talked about, anything to stir the pot a little bit sometimes makes it a little more fun.
Right.
For sure.
Well, 2 years ago at the President's Cup, it was, Tom Kim was, took sort of the world by storm with his emotion. And, it was really just a fascinating watch. And not a lot of young guns really on these teams, but might it be Tigala or a Minwoo Lee, to captivate the audience this year?
Yeah, I think Minwoo Lee is a great call. Tigala as well. He's such a great guy. Love the guy. His caddy's awesome too. And he's had a great year. When you're a rookie on these teams, it's like a whole new world. Your eyes get big. You just never. So sometimes, a guy like Tigala will just go to a level he wasn't able to go to before, just because it's so exciting, so pumped up, and you're playing for more than yourself. It's sometimes you raise to a new level when you're playing for other players, other caddies, and your captain. I think Minwoo Lee is a great call. That guy. He's a birdie machine. He makes a ton of birdies, and he loves getting the crowd involved. He will be, I almost guarantee you see in these things sometimes where they get the crowd going on the first tee and hit their shot, screaming. And we saw Tom Kim do that last time in Charlotte, and I could see Minwoo doing that this year. I think he feeds off the crowd feeds off him. So he's another key guy for the internationals. If he gets going, it's almost like more than 1 point if he were to win, because it just gets that momentum going, gets the crowd involved. And it's amazing how often in these things, momentum plays such a huge part, because as you're playing, if you look up on the scoreboard and you see your team sweeping all the matches, you get excited and you want to get your match going. Vice versa. If you see your team behind and everything, that pressure adds and it builds. So, it's so even the first few holes of a session, if the U.S. guys see, the first 3 matches all one up, the momentum starts to go really fast. So I think Minwoo could be one of those guys that they throw out early to try and get the crowd going along with the Canadians and get some blue up on the board for them.
Oh yeah. So it's President's Cup week. We don't want to look past it, but you have a pretty big job being named team manager of the Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black,
right?
Coming off of a loss. Talk about when you received that call, or how you received it, and what you felt in that moment, just with your history with the event.
I mean, I was, it's my favorite event ever. It's just such an honor, such a privilege to be any part of a Ryder Cup. And I had written some, after some Ryder Cups that I'd been a part of, I had written some stories and that kind of got around to some of the PGA officials. And I know those guys really well. Seth Waugh called me, this is probably early June, late May this year. And we were having a conversation and they told me they were thinking about creating this position as a team manager for the United States team, just to kind of create some institutional memory from year to year. Because I think the U.S. in general kind of starts from scratch every 2 years, when there's a big portion of the organization and the scheduling that can be the same every year, that doesn't need to go all the way to the captain's desk. So I thought, this is a great idea. I think this is, something this should have been a long time coming. But in my mind, I'm thinking this is really cool that Seth Waugh is calling me for advice on who they should hire. That was my thinking. So I'm going, God, who would be good at this? And I'm trying to think of players and ex-players. And we got late in the conversation, and Seth kind of goes, "No, you're not understanding. We want you to do it."
Oh, that's amazing.
So
you just described your own job. Good job.
Yeah, I couldn't say yes fast enough. Like I said, it's my favorite event. It's such a thrill to be a part of it, and even as an announcer, it's been a blast to be a part of the last 2 at Whistling Straits and Marcos Simone. But to be back in the team room and working with the guys again, it's the biggest honor of my career, whatever that is. So it's just it's beyond belief that I think Michelle Tesori, Paul Tesori's caddy for Tom Kim, she's a good friend, and she posted after it was announced. She said, "There's the key to life. Love something so much that they create a position for you because of it." And it's just like that describes it perfectly for me.
Awesome.
That's incredible. Well,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you very much.
John, Philly-based podcast. We always have to ask this question. We like to describe it as an embarrassment of riches with all the golf courses we have there. Talk about your choice in Philly golf courses. What's your number one?
Merion. I just adore Merion. Hunter Mahan, who I caddied for a long time. We came very close there at that U.S. Open that Justin Rose won. didn't know anything about the golf course when we went there. His agent, Arn Tellem, who I think still works for the Phillies, or at least was working for the Phillies, he told us a lot about the course. And when we got there, the first time I walked it, I just fell in love with it. It's kind of an anti-modern golf course. It's tight, it's quirky. You've got to play A to B to C. And that was kind of Hunter's game, great driver of the ball, really had good control of it. And the Philly crowds, there's nothing like a Philly crowd, good or bad. It's passionate, which is what you want. So I just adore Marion. And there's a lot of great courses, as you said, but Marion is one of my top 5 in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure. Gotta love Marion.
Yep.
And I'm gonna ask one more question. This is maybe the hardest question you'll get is, who should we have on our podcast as our next guest?
I just mentioned him, Paul Tesori.
Yeah.
Paul Tesori has been out here for so long as a caddy, for so many great players, Vijay Singh, to name just one. But he's a great storyteller, super passionate about everything, remembers every story in his whole career. And the great thing about it for you guys, if you have him on for an hour, you only have to ask one question. And he's gone. He's gone. He will take the rest of it, and you guys can take the rest of the day off. I love Paul. He's a great friend and just a passionate guy about what he does. And he'd be a great guy to have on.
Wow.
That's
very
amazing.
good.
Maybe you can connect us with him. He'd be a great.
Anytime.
Yeah, shoot him a text and connect him with Hair. Hopefully
You
we
can
get
vouch
him
for
on
us.
next.
I
Yeah.
will. I will.
Is that a Martin behind you? What do you got there?
It's a Taylor. It's a little
Oh, a Taylor.
uh,
Nice.
travel guitar. Yeah, one that
Beautiful.
fits in the overhead bin. So they let me throw it in there and bug everybody with it.
People are like, "Oh, who's this rock star on our flight?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They
Google
always
image
say, "Are you
search.
going to play for us?" I said, "If you need to evacuate the plane, then yes, I'll pick it up and start
I'm
playing.
your guy.
Everybody will run."
They're creating
Love
all
it.
types of jobs for you.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, the great
This is
John
great,
Wood.
man.
John, we are huge fans. We love your on course. You give us great perspective and really take us inside and make it so much more interesting to watch these events. And super excited for you with the Ryder Cup team management role, and looking forward to the coverage all week. And try to keep a handle on that Johnson Wagner guy. He's out of control.
Nobody can keep a handle on him. Guys, thank you very much. This was a blast. And anytime you want me on, you got my number now. So just shoot me a message, and happy to come on. This was fun.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Great
Have
stuff.
fun
Good
this
luck
week
this week.
watching, guys.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break. We will be right back. All right, welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. What an awesome conversation with John. I mean, what a great guy to talk to. He's so positive, like just upbeat.
Yeah.
Loves what he does. It
Good
comes
energy.
through. Yeah, really love. And it's fun. It's funny too. Like, there's some people that have done the encore stuff where they really kind of stand out almost too much.
Mhm.
Does that make any sense? Where
Yes.
John doesn't, right? Like, it's not about him at all
No.
when he does it, and it comes through so much. Like, there's never a moment where you're like, oh man, that was crazy what he said. It's like, no, he's just describing the action,
Yeah.
and bringing it into your living room, which is exactly what you want to do. But speaking of your living room, we know it's football season. TD Tutty in for 6 touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. We're looking at the odds. The Eagles -2.5 on the road at the Bucks, Harry.
Mhm.
And you got the Cowboys at Steelers -1. That's a short line.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's going on with the Cowboys. But I don't
Well,
really care.
I don't think anybody's really believing in what they're seeing with the Steelers either.
True.
You know,
True.
no.
Yeah. But ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code DING. That's code DING for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. The crown is Billy Horschel's, Harry.
Oh man.
I think he's going to have to just move to England at some
Yeah.
point. He
Why not,
follows the
right?
Premier League.
Yep.
He wins over there. So 2 weeks in a row, Rory is close, but no cigar.
Yeah.
Playoff hole. pretty compelling finish there.
I was into it, man. I was watching early Sunday morning. I did not play golf. I had to, do the Eagles post game, so I knew I was going to try to squeeze in a round of golf and then watch that. So I was dialed into this the entire final round, and it was pretty captivating. I got to be honest, with that final group, and you go to a playoff hole, and two playoff holes, and the hole really well. I've been watching that tournament for years, so the big dog leg right with the water in front of the green, and Rory hits like a what was it, a 4-iron or something, and almost puts it in the water. He mishit it and kind of almost put it in the water, and Horschel and he then in the extra hole, in the second extra hole, both hit the green. They've got sort of similar putts, and Rory almost puts his in. And Billy Horschel just rolls. I said to myself, one of these guys is going to miss and one's going to make. This is the end. And Horschel, as soon as he hit that putt, I'm like, that's going in. When he creeps up into those putts, I just love watching him putt, because as soon as he gets set over the ball, man, he draws the putter back. It's like he does all his analysis as he's creeping in there, and then boom. But yeah, that's a big win for him.
Huge. Yeah. Post game too. I like listening to him a little bit, because he's like, he's like, when your game's not fully together, he's like, I'm a grinder, I'm a worker, like I hustle. And you could see that out there, over the course of 4 days.
Yeah.
But what was his name? Montecero, like his wheels just fell off.
Yeah, he fell apart.
Final round 73. And then you had the Tristan Lawrence, who was also in that 3-part playoff. He shot a 65 to get.
And we saw him kind of come on at the Open Championship. He was a part of the final day there. That was the first time I really noticed him. So he's legit.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing Billy Horschel in Bethpage.
He'd be a great Ryder Cup.
He'd be great. Right? You wouldn't want to play against him.
He's got fierce. He's a fierce competitor, and he's into it. Yeah, he'd be good.
Yeah, we'll be a good spot.
Yeah. Any tea to spill this week, Danielle?
Yeah, we got a little bit. We can talk about, let's take it to the LPGA. Lydia Ko. I mean,
how about that?
Just her I mean, we were saying that Nelly was Scotty Scheffler. I mean, Lydia Ko maybe also Scotty-esque as well.
Yeah.
Dominated in Ohio. She's having just a season. Her third LPGA title of the year, 9 under 63.
Yeah.
She ended up winning the Kroger Queen City Championship by 5. Listen to this stat here. 9 out of 22 wins on the PGA Tour, just 22, or LPGA Tour, pardon me, have come from, she's won a victory of 3 or more shots in
dominant.
9 out of those 22. Yeah. So gold medal at the Olympics. And then this would be a back-to-back win for her, winning the AIG Women's Open at St. Andrews. And of course, like I just said, the Kroger event here put her right back in that winner circle again. So she's having a season.
Yeah, they had that on a new golf course for that venue, the TPC, designed by Arnold Palmer. It used to be played, I think the golf course was Kenwood Country Club, which was a classic layout. But this was, a new venue. So that, it was a good tournament. I watched a lot of that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I can always rely on her for my women's golf to get my fix on that. I want to take it back to the President's Cup real quick. We saw the international team wearing the, all neutral colors, the monochromatic look. And at first everyone's like, oh, this is, kind of a nod to Adam Scott. Turns out it was. So it was pretty funny. I don't know if you guys saw that at all, but they were all wearing like beige on beige, khaki on khaki. Yeah. Just the monochromatic look.
Wow.
It's so funny because they always give Adam, a little, I almost said shit.
There's a lot of beige and brown and
but
he makes it look good though.
He does. He makes it look good. Yeah. And then Min Lu Wee had shaved over his right ear, INT, throwing up some, peace signs or whatever he was doing for international. We got a little Min Lu Wee.
Min Lu Wee. Say that 3 times fast.
Right. I was just going to say pretty great. So we saw that. And then what else do we have here with President's Cup? 2 fun stats here. Adam Scott has played in more President's Cup matches than the entire U.S. team combined.
Wow.
So 10 appearances, 49 matches for Mr. Scott, and then 11 combined appearances and 47 matches for the entire Team USA.
Yeah. Going to be interesting to see who Mike Weir partners with him. He apparently is not maybe the most adaptable player. You would think he would be, but
Yeah.
he just sort of has
Seems
a
like a chill
tough
dude.
time.
Yeah, you wonder if
getting
it's like
teammates.
Jason Day, like a well-known
Right.
guy, or a new guy, a rookie.
Right.
Yeah, curious. Good
Yeah.
call, Harry.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll have to see how that plays out. Another fun stat with comparison of the teams or entire field when we're talking about Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler had more wins in 2024, 8, than the other 23 players combined at the President's Cup, being
Oh my
7.
gosh.
So that's just kind of
Right.
wild. And then another fun President's Cup fact. Weir has never won a President's Cup. He appeared in 5. He has a 13-9-2 record. So if we're looking at
But
the
he beat
stats of
Tiger
him,
Woods.
He
he
did.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to talk about Tiger in President's Cup, do you guys remember that there's the
walk-in?
picture well that too, but yeah, the squirrel that like came up on him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Those photos were circulating back around X again. It's kind of funny. I love when they pull out those. And then we saw the Phil Mickelson with like George Bush, Bill Clinton selfie. So I love when those old, the old content from previous years rolled out. It's kind of cool to see those.
Oh yeah. Very
It is.
cool.
It is. For this U.S. team, you look at Homa, Harmon, Finau to an extent, even Cantlay. They're not exactly coming in playing their best golf.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these guys are looking to sort of reignite themselves here, because I think this could be a little closer than the experts think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
there's
mean,
seven
be.
members returning from the 2022 winning team. They have a 4-1-1 record on international soil. So,
Mhm.
but like we heard John saying, like this rough is so thick. This is
Yeah.
the most he's seen a course set up for, like a European style. And if they get some rain, we could see it a little closer than what everyone thinks.
Well, speaking of playing well and dealing with rain, Harry, will we finally get this round in today? Is this the third time this has been rescheduled, or
It's the second time.
Second time.
Second time.
So-
Yeah. Hopefully we won't need a third. The Union
Well,
League.
we know how Harry and Rain pair together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and I'm
think we're gonna get it in, but
And of course, we're playing with Coop and Greeny today.
Yep.
And I'm getting accused on a text chain for bringing the rain by Coop, because he listens to the podcast and we talk about, if I ever
you're getting it on a private chain with myself and
Right.
Granny too.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Yeah.
Oh,
Harry,
am?
I apologize, Harry. I do push that narrative pretty often. So
Fake news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Well,
Yeah. Well,
it's not real.
we're
It doesn't
playing
rain every time Harry's on the
Union
court.
League Torresdale is what we're playing
looking
today.
forward to it.
Looking forward to it. I'm actually playing Manufacturers this week too, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
have Philly Cricket next week. So
Wow.
Nice little
Another
run.
tour.
nice little quick trifecta.
Wow.
If the
Yeah.
weather cooperates, because this is the time of year where it could fall off pretty quickly.
Could be
It's the same
dicey.
thing down here. It's like hurricane season. And, I talked to B and I was like, look, Wednesdays is it. Every Wednesday, we're going to go to the course, whatever. We got this ridiculous, I think I broke my toe this morning on it. This huge, ridiculous putting green that Brandon decided was going to go. He wanted to put it in our living room. And I was like, I don't think so. So I had to readjust it, but it's in our house and he's putting and you can chip off of it and everything else. So the other night we put the baby to bed and I'm, working on my swing. He's showing me a bunch of stuff. And we're like, all right, Wednesdays is it. We're going to go to the course, golf caddy or stroller caddy. They sent me this awesome thing to go on the stroller where I can have all my clubs on it. So we're going to go out there tonight. But of course, with the weather being as it is, we have thunderstorms, everything else. So hoping that clears up. And, maybe I'll send you guys a swing video or two, depending if we get out there or not.
Yeah, I need to know what this mat is. You can chip off of it, you say?
Oh, yeah.
I'd like
Yep.
to get one of those, put it in the basement.
I'll share the link with you.
Absolutely.
Actually, we'll save it for next week and I'll share the name of the mat. They'll give me 10% commission and then I'll share it with you.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's dig into the President's Cup. US 12-1-1 have won 9 straight. We are at Royal Montreal. Let's talk about the course, of course, sponsored by the Penn Club on Second, who I saw have some new membership options they just rolled out.
They do.
So, let's talk about the course and the Penn Club, Harry.
All right, Royal Montreal, a Dick Wilson design. He's, of course, has his hands on Bay Hill, Doral, even locally here in Delaware. Bitterman was designed by Dick Wilson. Reese Jones did a touch-up before the last time they had the President's Cup here in the early 2000s. 7,319 yards, par 70, Parkland style. There's water in play on 6 holes on the closing 9, including the final 5 holes from 14 through 18. Greens average 5,000 square feet. The course favors accuracy over distance. There's only 2 par 5s. The 6th and the 12th, and 4 par 3s, 5, 7, 13, and 17. We'll start at the 14th hole. Par 4, 400 yards, water left side from the green halfway back to the tee. The right side of the fairway is a forest. So there's a narrow fairway at the landing area with bunkers on the right side. Players may use iron off the tee here, and the approach is to a narrow green with 3 sections with a bunker front right. The hole can be shortened, and they will do this to 300 yards with the move the tee up, and they're going to make it drivable. So this is going to be part of the fun here on the closing side. Remember, some of these matches don't get to these final couple of holes. You get shut out, but I think the 14th hole is going to be a pivotal hole this week, and they will get to it. But par 4, 15th hole, 448. It's another shot placement tee shot with water in the front and left side of the green, which is a long, narrow green with a pair of bunkers on the right and a pot on the back left. That goes between the water and the green. The par 4 16th hole is 458, large pond on the left side of the fairway. Accuracy trumps length. You're starting to get a theme here. There's water on the closing holes, and you better find the fairway. As Woody said, a lot of irons will be used off these tees, I think. Par 3 17th hole is only 158 yards. The tee shot's played over a pond that extends down the right side of the green. There's a little room for error between this narrow green and the water. It's heavily bunkered on the left, and the green has a spine right through the middle from back to front. Now, the par 4 18th hole, 466-yard par 4, a narrow landing area. Sounds like the same hole. A lot of the same approach here. Narrow landing areas, bunkers left and right, and water. So, looking forward to this. I don't know much about it. I don't think I watched the President's Cup when it was here last. I definitely did not see any Canadian Opens that were played here, and there were a bunch of them. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. But that 14th hole, I think, is going to be big.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And with the inclement weather, Harry, talk about the Penn Club. It's not just for the rainy days, but it's nice to have it when there are. Let's face it.
It really is. I was there the other night, just working on some wedges and iron approach shots. And like you said, they've got some new membership options. Check them out at pc2conchi.com. I got that, the merch. They're asking for all.
I saw that.
Enjoy Conchi on here, but they want some of our merch. They like the stuff that Moose does with the Philly golf. So pc2conchi.com.
Merch exchange.
I was just going to say, let's get that Penn Club hat, a little Conchi t-shirt, and Moose will hook them up with something else.
And we're going to be doing a live event out there in the near future, so we'll make sure we put that out everywhere. We'll get out, do the pod live from there, maybe do a little contest, the pin maybe on one of those holes. We'll see. Okay. We'll see how it goes. But
let's get a date where I can scoot
that
up.
Would be nice. That would be lovely. So a couple things. Obviously, I want to see Keegan. I want to see what happens with him. Theegala, we talked about it. How about this is the first time since 1993 with no Phil, Tiger, JT, or Spieth.
Crazy, isn't it?
Right. It feels
because they were supposed to be the passing of the guard too, right? You're like, okay, well, why does that matter? Like they're different eras, but it's interesting, and I'm really curious to see some of the Max Homas of the world. Russell Henley, who Woody mentioned, to see how he plays when the bright lights in a team competition are on. But the one for me is Scotty Scheffler, 0-3-1 in President's Cups, 2-5-4 President's Cup and Ryder Cup. Now, yes, it was a different player 2, 3, 4 years ago. I get that, but with a guy who's so laser focused and so into his own world and his own game, and nothing bothers him. Now you're playing with a partner. Now you're playing alternate shot. Now you're using a different ball. It's interesting how that. Listen, Tiger Woods does not have the greatest record in these plays, right? Another guy who's just so locked in on his own game. So it's so cool to see how that affects different guys. You know what I mean, Harry?
Absolutely, and he'll be paired with Burns, I imagine, his buddy. So he's very comfortable with that. But yeah, it's more limited sample, obviously, with Scotty, and nobody's had a better year than this year. Like Danielle mentioned, he's got 7 wins plus a gold medal, so 8 wins. But that is something to watch, because that stat is interesting, even though it's a limited sample.
Yeah, they were asking him, like, some people are saying you're the underdog, some people are saying you're going to dominate. He's like, I just I guess any of us could script his response. Like, I'm not worried about what people are saying. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try. But I think him being with Burns will give him a little more comfortability with that.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see some of the other guys, right? You got the Canadians, Corey Connors. You got Pendrith, Mackenzie Hughes. You got our guy Bezuidenhout, who's going to get a looking forward to seeing him. But when you look at official world golf rankings, U.S., average 12.4, international 34.4. Top
Mhm.
15 players in the world. US has 8. Hideki is the lone guy on the international side. So it's a mismatch, but throw that all out the window sometimes when you get to team play like this, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely do. You throw out the record books, as they say, when Army Navy, get together. But
Right.
I know the world rankings make it look like a mismatch. But I was listening to our boy Brandel Chambly last night on the Golf Channel, and strokes gained, total strokes gained. If you look at these teams, they're very even.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, the
Oh,
world
that's
rankings are a little askew to begin with. To me,
Brandel goes deep. You
he
know,
does
Brandel,
go deep.
He does.
yeah, you gotta appreciate that. And the
That
Johnson Wagner
personality.
stuff is so good.
Oh,
We have to get him on this
I know.
podcast. Did you
Did
see
you see him on Golf
like
Channel?
well, the
Like-
two things. One, he recreated the shot in the water, but then he's chunking wedges and they're
Yeah.
laughing at him. Like
Oh, the set of live from was cracking up, and
Yeah.
I'm cracking up.
I
too.
felt
Brandel was
bad for him.
crying. He was laughing so hard he was crying.
yeah.
That's
I didn't
incredible.
think it was that funny. I felt bad for my man Johnson.
So did I.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
what choked your shot?
Yeah, I mean, I've laid
It
the
was
sod over it plenty
hilarious.
of times.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
hilarious.
let's see the line, right? Because you can bet on this. And again, our official sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Yes, it is President's Cup, but we are in the heart of football season. Big win by our birds. But you know how this intro goes, right, Harry?
Mhm.
TD, Tutty, in for 6. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how you score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. We talked about some of the odds already. That Eagles line, -2.5 at the Bucks. I could see that thing moving. I don't think, what's funny? I tried to bet against the Phillies too last night. And
Did you?
they took it off the board the night before when they won.
Hangover
Wow.
game, yeah.
Yeah, but the year before they actually won. Garrett Stubbs hit a home run, so I'm like, oh, maybe they play better like that. But no,
Mm.
Taiwan Walker was on the hill.
Yeah.
But are you ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the Sportsbook app and use code DING. That's code DING for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. So when we look at the odds for the President's Cup, the latest
Minus
has
250, I believe.
250 international plus 275.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you dig in because I could see it being tight in the beginning, right? I could see the international team kind of jumping out. So like a day one kind of prop bet. I've taken a look at that when you look at the event props.
Mhm.
You have top point scorers, which it's funny because Scheffler has the shortest odds, right? And someone who hasn't really played the best and
Right.
scored the most points. But there's always, there's going to be there's one or two guys that stand out. The person no one's really talking about is Wyndham Clark, right?
Mhm.
Is he going to play like Wyndham Clark? We don't know. Is he going to play like he did a couple of years ago or up and down? But you placing some wagers on this, Harry?
I have not yet. I doesn't mean I won't. I kind of think Colin Morikawa is going to have a big week, and I might go hit with him for most points. I don't know.
Plus 800.
Plus 800. Okay, yeah. I would put a little shekel on that.
Yeah, I like that too. I like
Little
that
shekel.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very. I'm looking forward to this one. I think there's so many storylines in here. Like I said, there's going to be a lot about Keegan. What do you think
Mhm.
happens if he comes back around and he qualifies for the Ryder Cup? You have to replace him as captain, right? You can't captain and play
Player
Ryder Cup
I don't know
Yeah.
that I don't know that.
Too many.
when you haven't even been an assistant, right?
Right.
Guys, coming
know.
from a women's beer league softball, it was tough to captain and play.
I hear you. Same.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, you got a lot going on. You got to
Yeah.
focus on just running the team. I think he'd have to forego.
I think you'd have to forego playing, wouldn't you think? Because you can't just
Mm.
name a captain at the last minute like that, can you?
I don't.
mean, that's-
if he has a chance to play,
You could
in this, that's-
easily fill a player more so that I think than you can late stage a captain,
But
right?
it
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
has to
listen,
come
you
from
could bring
his
you'd have to bring a
position.
Furyk or somebody who just did it, probably.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Bring him in hot. But if Keegan has a chance to play, he's playing in this thing. He said
Yeah.
that. Like
Let
he didn't
Tiger
even.
be
He
captain.
wasn't even thinking about being a captain. That probably wasn't even on his radar yet.
Right.
Like he
Yeah.
wants to play in these events.
Oh yeah,
No.
I would want to.
Hmm.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys, Harry. I'll see you a little bit on the on the tee box
Looking
at
forward to
Union
it.
League
See
Torresdale.
some
Looking
content
forward to
up on
getting
the
out there.
gram, boys.
Oh yeah, we'll get some stuff out there. Thanks again to John Wood for coming on. We'll make sure we post everything so you can follow along. And thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.